Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Reviews. The way this works is simple. I'm going to take two characters and match them up against each other. I'm going to give them a score out of 10 in the categories of offense, defense, speed, sustainability, and scaling. The two characters we're going to be facing off are Tsareena and Machamp. Let's start off with Machamp. Now on my Machamp, I was running Focus Band, Scope Lens, and Attack Weight, which meaning I had to be really aggressive in my lane to score.
Now let's get rolling into Machamp.
Now for offense, I'm going to give a 9. Machamp is a Pokemon that comes with quite a punch. Machamp's burst damage is quite insane actually, and if leveled and scaled correctly early, can absolutely dominate a lobby. On the minus side, Machamp is fairly weak, and it takes a while to scale, which can mean for a troublesome early game, especially if you don't get those stacks with attack weight. Machamp overall does a really good punch, and the only reason why I wouldn't give him a 10 out of 10 is because if you don't get your stacks or don't scale properly, I find it's a little underwhelming the damage output he does. But when he's stacked properly and leveled equal or above, he just absolutely shreds through most Pokemon in the game. Next is defense. I'm going to give a 3. From the defensive aspect of the game, Machamp doesn't bring much to the table. The only thing he could really do to push enemies back would be his ultimate, and even then, his CC on his moves doesn't last very long. There's not really much of a defensive ability. Machamp doesn't really have much of a defensive ability. He also doesn't seem to take hits very well, and that just makes it where any fight regarding being outnumbered, he will almost be one of the first ones dead. Next up is speed, and I'm going to give that an 8. Machamp's dynamic punch gives him a movement speed buff, and makes it really nice to jump onto characters coming in, especially speedsters. I find if you land Machamp's combo, you're almost guaranteed a kill from it. Now, I wouldn't say he's the fastest character, and when he's just normally running, he is, I would say, a little bit on the slower side, but overall, Machamp has pretty good movement and is above average, I would say, in that department. Now, for sustainability, I would give him a 4. Machamp doesn't last long in fights, and if he's outnumbered, he will die quickly. There is the odd chance you can live if you take out one of the Pokemon quickly, but say you land your combo and they're both still alive, say there's like a Blissey and a Greninja, and you don't Oko the Greninja, you're pretty much dead 9 times out of 10. He doesn't last very long in fights. He's a very bursty kind of Pokemon. You need to choose your fights well to get the most value out of Machamp's kit. Now to finish it off for scaling, I give him a 6. Now, Machoke isn't necessarily bad, but Machop is dreadful to get through. If you have a hard time scaling early and you can't get to the level 5, it is atrocious. And even when you get Machoke, you don't get close combat till 7. And by then, most Pokemon will level, or their jungler will already be fully evolved, or is an Absol, and you still just are behind. Now, I will say Machoke does get some value, and if you do get your stacks on Machoke with close combat, honestly, it's really not that bad and works pretty well. But it's still pretty brutal evolving at 9, and if you don't get that first Dread, you are playing catch-up. Overall, Machamp is a pretty solid Pokemon, and in the 5 games I played with him, I went 5-0, doing about 56,000 damage per game. Machamp's total score comes to 30 out of 50, and it's about what I expected. I do think he's an above-average pick, but he definitely has some shortfalls, which makes him not the perfect all-rounder, but still a fantastic asset to a team when played correctly. Now, let's go to the counterpart, Tsareena. Now, my Tsareena, I'm running Focus Band, Weakness Policy, and Attack Weight, which means, again, I have to be aggressive in my lane to score goals. Tsareena is a menacing Pokemon to deal with, and for offense, I gave her an 8.5. Now, Tsareena doesn't quite pack that explosive power that Machamp does, but with its passive, it's able to get off 2 stomps in a row after a drop kick. The damage adds up pretty quickly, and I do think Tsareena is a very nice option. Not as bursty as Machamp, but definitely sustains that damage throughout a fight. Overall, it makes Tsareena a force to be reckoned with. She does pack quite a punch. Now, for defense, I gave Tsareena a 5. And same kind of goes for Machamp. Doesn't really have much pushback, but I will say Tsareena's stomp does cause a little bit of CC and does cause disruption, and I do think it kind of helps when someone's trying to take your point to be able to just stomp on it, and anyone standing on that point will take damage. And her ultimate's also very good at stopping a push or isolating someone that is trying to attack you. Overall, not the best defensive unit, but definitely has some things to her kit that can help along that aspect of the game. Next up is speed, and I give her a 9. Now, she may not be crazy fast, but with her passive, being able to get 2 drop kicks off, her movement is really insane. You'll even see a clip of me chasing a Delphox down, and she has X speed, but I catch up to her because the 2 drop kicks, you can cover so much space so quickly. she really can be oppressive, and I think having that speed makes her that much of a threat and very powerful. The only thing holding her back from being a 10 out of 10 is her basic move speed isn't crazy fast, but with those drop kicks, she can get herself around pretty well. Now for sustainability, I had to give Tsareena a 10. Tsareena doesn't die. She has so much sustainability. If you level early and you just can get stomps off, she just doesn't die. And it makes her so valuable in team fights as she can keep outputting damage. Even with the heal nerf, it's still, I barely notice it. I think Tsareena's super powerful and is by far one of the most long-lasting Pokemon in the game when it comes to fighting. Now for scaling, I gave her a 7. Now, the reason why it's higher than Machamp's counterpart is because you get Tsareena at 6, which is 3 levels lower than Machamp, which is crazy. You'll almost always have her for Dread. The only thing holding her back from being any higher is, I will say, her first 2 evolutions are kind of poop, and they can be kind of dreadful to use. Not impossible, but you definitely feel like you're playing keep up or try to keep up until you do get to Tsareena. But you do get Tsareena early, and I do think that's pretty powerful. Tsareena overall is a very good character, and I dare say that she is the best all-rounder in the game. Overall, in my 5 games with Tsareena, I went 2-3 with an average damage of 69,000 in those 5 games. Overall, she has a ton of value, and this is why she has a total score of 39.5 out of 50. And that means today's winner is Tsareena. If you want to see more content like this, please make sure to consider dropping a subscribe and like the video, and comment down which Pokemon you want me to compare next.